सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। So we are in this last question, Tayoho Vivekaha Katam, that is Atma Anatma Vivekaha Katam. So Panchakosha Viveka topic, it started in verse 45 and it is continuing. And Shankaracharya is identifying and defining each kosha and also its role in a person's life. So, of the 5 koshas, we have completed Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and also Vijnanamaya kosha, the most important one, because Vijnanamaya corresponds to Karta, Bhokta, Pramata, which is called the Jiva, which alone has free will, which alone decides the course of our life. Therefore, Vijnanamaya was elaborately dealt with. So, in our book, it's actually from verse 52, or our course, it is 52 to 56. And we completed verse 56 in the last class, wherein Shankaracharya concludes that this Vijnanamaya alone becomes the Karta. So now we move on to Anandamaya Kosha, still subtler topic. Swati Bhagini, you can unmute yourself. Can you speak up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, very well. Ananda Pratibimba Chumbita Tanuhu
Ananda Pratibimba Chumbita Tanuhu
Vrittistamo Jrumbhita
Vrittistamo Jrumbhita
Syadanandamaya Priyadi Gunakaha
Syadanandamaya Priyadi Gunakaha
Sveshtarthalabhodayaha
Sveshtarthalabhodayaha
Punyasyanubhave vibhati kritinam
Punyasyanubhave vibhati kritinam
Anandarupasvayam
Anandarupasvayam
Bhutvanandati yatra sadhu tanubrit
Bhutvanandati yatra sadhu tanubhrut
Matra prayatnam vina
Matra prayatnam vina.
Second. One important point while chanting this verse, for others also to note, see, I paused after Bhutva Nandati Yatra Sadhu Tanubrit. Now, you're not supposed to pause there because Tanubrin Matraha is a Samasta Padam. So the way we have to chant is Bhutva Nandati Yatra Sadhu Tanubrin Matra Prayatnam Vina. Okay. So just note, even when you chant Gita, this is important for us to not split the Samasta Padam in between. So verses 57 to 59 deal with Anandamaya. So the first 2 verses talk about the definition and function of Anandamaya. So verse 59 negates Anandamaya also as a kosha, and it is not Atma, it says. So in this very big verse, Anandamaya's nature and function is mentioned. And it's a very involved verse. And to understand this, we have to have some background information and we need to dwell on this. Right? So before we enter the shloka proper. So Ananda means happiness. Now, happiness as an experience, we all know. Generally, it's a feeling or an emotion. Therefore, it is associated with the mind. And because mind is associated with all the emotions, right? So, happiness also is like an emotion and it is generally associated with the mind. So, mind becomes happy, mind becomes unhappy. Thus, happiness is something that is experienced in the mind, right? And off and on. So, this is an experiential fact that all of us know. Now, let us analyze this experiential fact. And this is beautiful, this analysis. Before we come to Vedanta, we don't even think of it this way. When the mind becomes happy, from where does the happiness come to the mind? Does the mind produce happiness or does the happiness come from somewhere else? So normally we attribute the sense objects as the source of happiness, right? Because that is what our experience is. When I contact varieties of objects which I like, right? Suppose I'm listening to good music, then I feel music is giving me that happiness. So the external world of sense objects is considered to be the source of joy. And it may be an object or it may be people that I love. It may be an event I look forward to. It may be a travel that I look forward to, right? So the entire world is running after one form or the other of anatma. So for entertainment and happiness, so different people basically watch different programs, experience different things. Now, so let's take the example of, say, internet, right? Or the December music season in Chennai. Internet is more relatable to everybody. You have so many things available on the internet, but why do I connect myself to something within that? Because it gives me joy. It is a source of joy. Therefore, anatma is considered to be a source of happiness. And this is the widely prevalent belief. This is what we all experience, and we firmly believe or conclude that the sense object or the person or that experience, any anatma for that matter, is the source of happiness. Whereas Vedanta radically differs from this conclusion. Vedanta makes a very huge revelation and it is very, very difficult to understand and assimilate also. In fact, according to me personally in my journey, understanding Atma as consciousness, Atma as existence is a lot easier and comes way ahead of Atma as happiness, right? Vedanta makes a significant leap and it's a very, very difficult topic also. And the Upanishad says there is only one source of happiness in the entire creation, and that only source of happiness is called Atma, which is one, eternal and all-pervading Atma, which is also called Brahman. So Brahman and Atma, which is only one, that non-dual Brahmatma, right, is the source of happiness. Why? Because happiness is the very nature of Atma. Previously, we said consciousness is the nature of Atma. Now we are adding another important feature and saying happiness is the nature of Atma and Atma alone. What about Anatma? Veda says Anatma appears to be a source of happiness. This is because of our wrong analysis or understanding. Why? Anatma does not contain any happiness in it, not even an iota. Right? There is a famous mantra in Chandogya Upanishad. In fact, that entire Vidya is very, very famous, called Bhuma Vidya. It's a dialogue between Narada, the disciple, and Sanat Kumara, the guru. So the Sanat Kumara declares that, right? Yovai bhuma tatsukam nalpe sukamasti bhumaiva. And then it goes on in the next, this is 723.1. And the next mantra, it says, Yatra nanyat pashyati nanyat shrunoti nanyat vijanati sa bhuma. So basically, and bhuma is bhuman shabdaha, which is nakaranta pullinga. So bhuma bhumanav. That's how it goes, right? Bhuma, bhu. So please note that, like bhumi. So we don't say it possesses sukham. we say Atma is happiness. So Atma is not happy. Atma is happiness itself. It doesn't possess. Nalpe sukham asti. In Anatma, there is not even an alpa sukham. Anatma na alpe sukham asti. Any anatma that we experience, it's an object bound by time and space. Even people, they're all finite, right? So then Sanat Kumara defines the Atma as Yatra Nanyat Pashyati, Nanyat Shunoti, Nanyat Vijanati, Sabhuma. So there is that which is divisionless and all pervading, right? And that Atma alone is of the nature of Sukham, and whatever is a divided entity is an object other than me. So it is finite, it doesn't have happiness, therefore no sense object can give happiness. Okay, this much we have come. Then what about the mind? Mind also is anatma, so it is limited and doesn't contain happiness. Then whenever the mind becomes happy, from where does that happiness come? The Upanishad says the happiness comes to the mind from the Atma. Previously, we said mind borrows consciousness from the Atma. Now we are adding another very big dimension and saying not only the mind borrows consciousness, mind also borrows happiness from the Atma alone. So it borrows consciousness all the time, which is continuously available throughout the waking period. And the mind borrows happiness also from the Atma alone, but not all the time, only now and then and on occasions. Therefore, now you have to extend the 5 features of consciousness to the 5 features of happiness. Happiness is not a part, product, or property of any sense object, including the mind anatma. Happiness is an independently existent spiritual principle which pervades the mind now and then. During conducive occasions, it pervades or gets reflected in the mind, and that reflected happiness is called Pratibimba Ananda. Previously, we talked about Pratibimba Chaitanyam. Now we are talking about Pratibimba Ananda. So, with the reflected happiness, the mind becomes occasionally happy. Now, happiness is not limited by the boundaries of any sense object, including the mind. So, happiness is all pervading, which is otherwise called consciousness. It is all pervading. Happiness continues to exist even when the mind is resolved. The original happiness continues to exist, right? Even when the mind, the reflecting medium is gone, right? It continues in a non-experiential form. It continues to exist in the form of consciousness or in the form of Purnatvam. It continues. The ever available pure original happiness, Bimba Ananda, is not available for experiencing at all times, since the manifesting medium, a conducive mind, is not available. Since it is not experiential happiness, you cannot make contact and experience it. Only when the mind is conducive, you are able to experience that reflected happiness, Pratibimba Ananda, right? So, here our topic is not basically Atma or the Nityananda. We must be very clear. That is why it was important for us to speak about it. We are now talking about Pratibimba Ananda in a conducive mental state. Moreover, we have to note that experiential happiness has got gradations. I am happy, happier, happiest. I hope all of you are with me. Here in this verse, we are not speaking about Nitya Ananda, but we are speaking about the reflected Pratibimba Ananda, which is available in a conducive mental state and which is subject to gradations: happy, happier, happiest. And they give an example. Swamiji gives a very nice practical example that we can relate. So when I see a liked object in a shop, maybe it's a say iPhone 15, 16, whatever, or a watch, which I've been looking for a long time. That very darshanam, right? The window shopping of the object gives me joy, right? So I go in and purchase it, right? Till then it was part of the shop. Now I have purchased it. So from first happy, I have become happier because it is under my control. Then I can use it and enjoy it, right? So that is called Ishta Grahanajam Sukham. So grasping, then possessing, right? Then I start exploring, understanding, and use it, right? That is Anubhavajam Sukham. So the happiest state. Thus, positive, you have comparative and superlative, the three levels of happiness. So the mind goes through three types of conducive states. If it is conducive, I'm happy. More conducive means happier. Most conducive means happiest state. So they have named each one of them as Priya, Moda, and Pramoda Vrittis. A state is called a vritti in Sanskrit, a state of the mind. So Priya, Moda, and Pramoda, right? So what is that conducive state of mind? We ask, right? Then Vedanta makes a fine observation. The conducive state of mind is, really speaking, the resolved state of mind. Only when the mind is resolved, in that condition alone, there will be reflection of Ananda, because an ignorant mind, an agitated mind, continuously produces unhappiness. Constant thinking of some work to be done. Constantly it is anxious, it is stressed, it is insecure. So the ignorant mind continuously produces unhappiness. So this is the conclusion of Vedanta. So the unhappiness is also of various degrees, mid-anxiety, mild anxiety to panic attack, etc. Right? So that is why it has been said in Amrita Bindu Upanishad, there's a very beautiful quotation. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho bandhaya vishayasaktam muktye nirvishayam smritam. As long as an active mind is there, with Rajoguna fully active, there is no Ananda possible. So every time we become active, it only means that the mind is getting resolved. So the ignorant mind has to go away, and it can go away only in twofold ways. Very important. Temporarily, it can go away by resolving into Karana Shariram. And since mind belongs to Sukshma Shariram, you must remember Sukshma Shariram is born out of Karana Shariram. So the ignorant mind has to temporarily resolve into Karana Shariram, then there will be happiness. This happiness happens during sleep naturally. Or the ignorant mind should become a wise mind. Then also there will be happiness. But the immediate one is what? Resolution, because of conducive conditions, right? So when everything is fine, I close my eyes and my mind turns inwards, it resolves, right? So Swamiji often quotes this statement, right? Some people give happiness wherever they go, and some others whenever they go. So some people give happiness wherever they go, and some others whenever they go. So if you extend this, a wise mind gives happiness wherever it goes. An ignorant mind gives happiness whenever it goes away, right? So a wise mind gives happiness wherever it goes. An ignorant mind gives happiness whenever it goes away. So whenever it resolves. So a conducive mind is a resolved mind, and according to Vedanta, Ananda is reflected not in the mind, right? This is a very fine observation. It is reflected in the conducive mind. So to conclude, a conducive mind is equal to a resolved mind is equal to Karana Shariram. In other words, Karana Shariram is the reflecting medium for Bimbananda. It's a very, very important and subtle point. So the ultimate conclusion of Vedanta is Karana Shariram is the reflecting medium for Bimbananda. And the Priya, Moda, Pramoda are treated as vrittis of Karana Shariram. Right? They are vrittis of the resolved mind of various degrees of resolution. So Vedanta concludes that Priya, Moda, and Pramoda belong to Karana Shariram. And because it is capable of reflecting Ananda, Karana Shariram is called Anandamaya Koshaha. So, Sukshma Shariram can only reflect consciousness, whereas Karana Shariram reflects Ananda. So, whenever we are happy, even though our eyes are open, we don't see anything. Or many times we close our eyes, and when we are happy, like for instance, when there is a Deepa Arthana going on, we just close our eyes, right? So, basically, the Ananda Vrittis are not turned outwards, but they are turned inwards. So, Antarmukha Vritti. So, even though the sense organs are open, they are not functioning. So, this Karana Shariram with Priya, Moda, Pramoda Vrittis reflecting Ananda is Anandamaya Kosha. So, that is actually going to be the essence of this shloka. So, let us see the meaning. Right? So, definition of Anandamaya Kosha first. It is given in the first two lines of the shloka. Of course, here is the Anvaya. So, Tamo Jrimbita Vrittihi Priyadi Gunakaha. Right? So, Anandamaya Kosha consists of three types of vritti or conditions or state. Priya, etc. is given here. The details of Priya, Moda, Pramoda are there in Taittiriya Upanishad. Right? So, Anandamaya Kosha consists of three types of vrittis. The word vritti refers to the threefold states or conditions. So, Tamo Jrimbita Vrittihi, very important. Tamaha means Mula Avidya Karana Shariram. Jrimbhita means Janita or Janya, born out of Karana Shariram. Right? Tamaha here representing Karana Shariram. Therefore, whenever we are talking about Anandamaya Kosha, we are talking about Karana Sharira Vritti. Right? It's a concept in Advaita Vedanta. Normally, when we talk about Vritti, we associate it with mind or intellect. That is Manovritti. Buddhi vritti, that we are not talking about here, right? So here we are speaking about Anandamaya Kosha, Karana Sharira vritti. Here we are talking about Avidya vritti, meaning Mula Avidya, Karana Sharira vritti. Therefore, Tamo Jrimbita vrittihi means the vritti that is happening in the Karana Sharira whenever we are happy. So how is the Karana Sharira vritti generated? Swaishtartha labhodayaha. Right? Three types of vritti are born. Udayaha means rises. Labha, when there is attainment or association of a person with swa-ishta artha. Artha means any object or person or situation here, which is swa-ishtam, which is liked by that person, which is favorable to that person. So, which is experienced by that person. So, I remember sometimes, Swamiji says, our entire life, we end up dividing the world into what we like, what we don't like, and rest of the time either converting like to don't like or don't like to like. That's all we do. Or put in other words, friends, enemies, friends becoming enemies, enemies becoming friends. That's all. So our life is divided between these three categories, he would say. Right? So, Swaishta Artha Labhaha means something that I like, right? I attain. Either because of my present effort or because of my Purva Janma Punyam. And according to Vedanta, every experience that we get, happiness or suffering, is our own karma phalam only. Right? So, Swaishta Artha Labena Udaya Utpattihi Yasya Saha Anandamaya Koshaha. Therefore, it is a Karana Sharira disposition generated by an external favorable condition. That alone is Anandamayaha. So, what is the speciality of this Karana Sharira Vritti? It does not have happiness in itself, but being Karana Shariram, the fineness of its Vritti is superior to Manovritti. Therefore, at the time of its experience, there is Manovritti. That experience is followed by the contentment or Tripti, and the Manovritti resolves and the Karana Sharira Vritti arises. So, the experience is Manovritti, but the consequent happiness is Karana Sharira Vritti, which is finer than the Vishaya Vritti that we normally see in the Buddhi or the Mana. So, in that Karana Sharira Vritti, Ananda Pratibimba Chumbita Tanuhu. So that vritti is of such a fine nature that it is capable of getting associated. Chumbitam literally means kissed, right? Here it means associated or joined with what? Ananda pratibimba. So the word Ananda here means the original happiness, which is the very nature of Atma, right? So Atma has got the original nature itself of happiness, right? Like original consciousness and Priyamoda and Pramoda Vritti, right? So the Ananda Pratibimba with reflected happiness, the Priyadi Vritti is kissed, contacted or joined. That means whenever we are happy, there is Anatma also, Atma also. Anatma is the Vritti and Atma reflection is also there in that, right? So it is called reflected happiness, Ananda Pratibimba Chumbita Tanuhu, or experiential happiness. So original happiness is non-experiential, and the experiential happiness has got three grades, which is what I said, Priyadi Gunakaha, right? Guna means states. Here the Adi represents Priya, Moda and Pramoda. In Taittiriya Upanishad, it is said actually, right? तस्य प्रियमेव शिरः मोदो दक्षिणः पक्षः प्रमोद उत्तरः पक्षः आनंद आत्मा ब्रह्मपुच्छम प्रतिष्ठा. So in Anandavali, Brahmanandavali, we see this in the fifth Anuvaka. So Atma is original Ananda, but in the Anandamaya Kosha, the threefold reflections with the threefold versions of Priya, Moda and Pramoda, depending upon the degree of resolution of the mind, it is available. So when the mind is active, subject-object duality is there clearly. So in happiness, the duality becomes indistinct. Therefore, as even the mind resolves, more and more Karana Shariram become dominant. So I enter the Advaita Avastha in which all the differences between subject-object are dissolved. Right? We find in Mandukya Upanishad, right, the fifth mantra, we see Yatra Supto na kaschana kamam kamayate na kanchana swapnam pashyati tat sushuptam. Sushupta sthana eki bhutah prajnanagana evanandamayo yananda bhukcheto mukaha prajnyas tritiyah padaha. So the sleep state is that where one is self-ignorant, one does not desire any external object, does not see any dream, right? And this prajna, whose field is the sleep state, is undifferentiated. And Mandukya Upanishad says clearly, who is full of ananda, besides being consciousness, who is the experiencer of ananda and who is the gateway to the experience. So here it is talking about the Sushupti Avastha, so the sleeper, right? So Prajnaha is being discussed. Therefore, Priyadi Gunakaha, Swa Ishtartha Labhodayaha, so Anandamayaha Bhavati. So all the others are subjective, right? Bhavati. So Priya, they qualify, right? So Anandamayaha Bhavati, Priyadi Gunakaha, Swa Ishtartha Labhodayaha. Then Kritinam Punyasya Anubhave Vibhati. And when does it happen? Kritinam. Kriti means the fortunate one, the lucky one, the blessed one, right? For the fortunate people, the Anandamaya Kosha surfaces. The Karanam Shariram becomes dominant. When there is Punyam, there is favorable karma. It can be Prarabdha karma or Agami karma, but it has to be the result of some effort that I have put forth. So, prarabdha agami punyam tasya anubhave. So, when we are experiencing the past punyam, it is fructifying in the form of favorable conditions and generates priyadi vritti, which reflects my own atmananda. Right? So, yatra tanubrin matra swayam ananda rupaha bhutva prayatnam vina sadhu nandati. Right? So, at that time of punyam fructifying, right, priyadi vrittis are generated. Tanubrin matraha, that means basically the living being or jiva who has got a body, the embodied jiva, the living being, right? So all the living beings without exception, right? Tanubrin matraha, without exception, no specific effort is required to generate happiness. The effort may be required to resolve the mind and produce Priya Moda, right? For that, of course, effort, punyam is required. Ananda doesn't require punyam because it is already our nature. So once the conducive state is there, it will get reflected. Therefore, prayatnam vina, effortlessly, just as when I bring a mirror in front of me, I need not request the mirror to show my reflection. The reflection is automatic. Similarly, Ananda automatically manifests. No effort is required. Therefore, prayatnam vina tanubhrit matraha. So, Ananda rupaha bhutva prayatnam vina sadhu nandati. Right? So, swayam ananda rupa bhutva. Jiva becomes one with Anandamaya kosha. All the other koshas are forgotten. Therefore, experiencing Anandamaya kosha is happiness, becoming one with happiness. Because there is no subject-object duality. Think about it, in deep sleep state, we don't have this subject-object duality at all. Therefore, Ananda Rupa Bhutva, meaning becoming one with the reflected happiness. The Jiva is soaked in happiness. Swayam Bhutva Nandati. Nandati means rejoices. So this is called Anandamaya Kosha. So whenever I am happy, I am in Anandamaya Kosha. Whether I am a Jnani or a Jnani, both of them are happy. Both of them are in Anandamaya Kosha. But the difference between Ajnani and Jnani is Ajnani attributes the happiness to the sense objects, whereas a Jnani never attributes happiness to the sense objects. He will say, my happiness is because of my original nature getting reflected in the Anandamaya Kosha. Therefore, when the happiness causing object goes away, it may be a nice bhiksha or it can be good music, right? Jnani understands that Ajnani may feel bad, but the Jnani says, oh, it's only the mirror which is taken away. I, the original happiness, am always there, right? If not one mirror, another mirror can always come. Therefore, whenever a jiva is happy, jnani or ajnani, that jiva is an Anandamaya kosha. This is the important message of the shloka. Ananda pratibimba chumbita tanur vrittis tamojrumbita syadanandamaya priyadi gunakah sweshtartha labhodayah पुण्यस्यानुभवे विभाति कृतिनाम आनंद रूप स्वयं भूत्वा नंदति यत्र साधु तनुभृन् मात्र प्रयत्नं विना. Continuing. आनंदमय कोशस्य
आनन्दमयकोशस्य
सुषुप्तौ स्फूर्तिरुत्कटा
सुषुप्तौ स्फूर्तिरुत्कटा
स्वप्नजागरयोरीषद्
स्वप्नजागरयोरीषद्
इष्टसन्दर्शनादिना.
इष्टसन्दर्शनादिना.
So, how often does a jiva experience this Anandamaya kosha and consequent happiness? That is said here. Anandamaya koshasya spurti. Spurti means manifestation, appearance, availability. Evidence of Anandamaya kosha is utkata, is more dominant. Sushuptau, in deep sleep. Because in deep sleep alone, the mind is resolved for a length of time. Therefore, there is no duality, no individuality, no ragadvesha, kama, krodha, etc. Right? He is in Advaitam state. So, in Sushupti, Ananda is continuously there for a length of time. So, interestingly, if any of you monitor your sleep and have the patterns analyzed, you would see that the deep sleep state is a very small percentage of your entire sleep. So that is what we are referring to here as Sushupti. So in deep sleep, Spurtihi, the experience of Ananda is Utkata, abundant, dominant. So all the Upanishads describe Sushupti as a happy state. So we might wonder whether it is happiness or is it a state where I'm in neutral state. So Upanishad uniformly declares it as Tatra etat sukham bhavati. Prashnopanishad, Brihadaranyaka-upanishad, Chandogya-upanishad, all of them say, in Sushupti, the jiva is in Advaita Avastha, mind is not there, therefore, the joy reflected in Karana Shariram, Atmananda, is reflected in Karana Shariram. So it is not Ananda coming from the world because the world has disappeared in Sushupti. In Sushupti, there is Ananda. And that Ananda is my own reflection in my own Karana Shariram. This is the conclusion. So Brihadaranyaka Upanishad compares it to moksha. So in Swayam Jyoti Brahmanam, there are several mantras. Atra pita pita bhavati, mata mata, loka aloka, deva adeva, veda avedaha. So at the time of sleep, this is pita, pita means pita, apita. So father is not father, therefore fatherly worries are not there. Mother is not mother, motherly worries are not there. No duality, no individuality, no worry. It is a state of continuous happiness, and that is why after waking up, everybody says, I slept happily. Sukham aham aswapsam. Not only Sushupti is a state of happiness, right? Shastra need not say that. It's also proved by inference. That's why everybody loves to go to Sushupti, right? It is a basically everybody complains about going to office on Monday, right? But nobody complains about going to sleep. They don't say, oh my God, I have to sleep today, right? No. So in Panchadashi also Vidyaranya Swami says, people take so much trouble to make sure that they get good sleep. All this indicates what? Sushupti is a continuous Ananda Anubhava. That means we are in Anandamaya Kosha continuously. Sushuptau Anandamaya Koshasya Spurtihi Utkata. So it is dominant, right? And whereas Swapna Jagara Yoho Ishat, right? So during waking and dream state, also we go to Advaita Avastha. That is Karna Shariram or Anandamaya Kosha. How much? Briefly, Ishat. So maybe, you know, the son has got some first rank or he's come first in some athletics. He's become a champion. So yes, it's happy news. Parents are happy, they will jump, or some college admission has happened, etc. Right? So, but I believe Puja Swamiji, Dayananda Swamiji always gives this example of drinking cool drink from a straw. Instead of enjoying the drink, you're always watching what is the level of the liquid at the bottom of the straw. So that sorrow is always there side by side, beside, because it's going down fast, right? So you cannot even enjoy peacefully. So we are not able to comfortably and continuously enjoy happiness in the waking state because we go to Advaita Avastha only briefly, suddenly Dvaitam and Vari comes. Therefore, Ishat means limited, briefly, slightly, right? Swapna Jagarayoho, in waking and dream states, right? We have to connect with the previous line, Anandamaya Koshasya Spurtihi Bhavati. So we do experience now and then. So, Ishta Sandarshanadina, when does it happen? Because of seeing the Ishta Vastu, right? Ishta Darshanam, Ishta Grahanam, Ishta Anubhavaha, right? So seeing, possessing, enjoying a desired object. So seeing corresponds to Priyavritti, possessing to Modavritti, and enjoying corresponds to happiest, right? Priya, Moda, and Pramoda, right? So Anandamaya Koshasya Sushuptau Spurti Rutkata Swapna Jagara Yorishat Ishta Sandarshanadina. Continuing. नैवायमानन्दमयः परात्मा
नैवायमानन्दमयः परात्मा
सोपाधिकत्वात् प्रकृतेर्विकारात्
सोपाधिकत्वात् प्रकृतेर्विकारात्
कार्यत्वहेतोः सुकृतक्रियायाः
कार्यत्वहेतोः सुकृतक्रियायाः
विकारसङ्गातसमाहितत्वात्
विकारसङ्घातसमाहितत्वात्.
So this Anandamaya Kosha also comes under Anatma only, right? So our original topic is Atma Anatma Viveka, or experiential happiness is also Anatma, we are now saying, right? It also belongs to Anatma only. It is not Para Atma, right? So what is the reason? Acharya gives several reasons. First one, sopadikatvat, right? It is in that order, so you can just follow. Sopadikatvat, right? Sa upadika. Here upadi means conditions, right? It is conditional. Because Anandamaya Kosha's happiness is conditional happiness, that means it is temporary happiness, right? It is subject to arrival and departure. Therefore, it is sopadika. It depends on favorable situations and punyam. So that is why Lord Krishna says in chapter 5, 22nd verse, Ehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkayonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. May you never get attached to experiential happiness. Even if you're enjoying it, you may not, don't get lost in it. May you remember that it is subject to loss. And when it goes away, there will be vacuum. Dukkha yone evate. They are causes of sorrow. Therefore, Anandamaya Kosha also is subject to fluctuation and it gives only fluctuating happiness. Whereas Atmananda is Niratishaya Ananda. It doesn't have gradations like Priya, Moda, Pramoda, etc. So the first reason is Sopadikatvat Anandamaya Kosha Atmana, right? So that's the first one. Second reason is Prakriter Vikarat. So Anandamaya Kosha is in the form of three vrittis, Priya, Moda and Pramoda, which vritti is a product of the Karana Shariram, right? So Karana Shariram itself is Prakriti. So Prakriter Vikarat means what? Yeah, a few classes back, we saw all the words for Karana Shariram, Maya, Avidya, Prakriti, Shakti, etc. Right? So Priya, Moda, Pramoda are all products of the inert Karana Shariram. Prakritehe Vikarat, product of Prakriti, right? And because it is a product, it's a modification. So it is Anatma. Atma is neither a product nor is it inert. Then Sukrita kriyayaha karyatva hetoho. Because Anandamaya Kosha arrives as a consequence of punyam, previous punya karma, Sukrita kriyaha means previous punya karma. Because of that karyam, it originates as a product. This is in fact an explanation of the previous statement, which is what? Prakriter vikarat. It is a product of Karna Shariram, yes, but it comes because of Purma Janma Punyam. So experiential Ananda is Punya Phalam. Original Ananda is not a product of anything, right? So it is Anityam. Experiential Ananda is always Anityam, temporary. So Sukrita Kriyayaha Karyatva Hetoho, because it is in the result, is the result of Punyam, and Punyam is subject to exhaustion or it can go away and it can come in some other form. So it is temporary. Then Vikara Sangata Samahitatvat. Samahitatvat means it is constituted of or comprised of a group of three vrittis. So the Vikara means a modification of the Karana Shariram, which means Priya, Moda, Pramoda, Sangata. Sangata means it's a group, right? Vikara Sangata means it's a group of vrittis, right? Therefore, it is what? Savayavam, which means it's a composite entity, whereas Atma is Niravayavam. Like space, Atma doesn't have any component or parts, whereas Anandamaya Kosha has got Avayavams. Therefore, the final meaning of Vikara Sangata Samahitatvat is it's a composite entity, it's a group consisting of several parts. Because of all these reasons, Anandamaya Kosha is just a costume I wear. Vedanta doesn't say you should reject the costume. It says it is experiential happiness and everyone instinctively loves that. But Vedanta wants us to understand that the experiential happiness is temporary. Therefore, may you be mentally prepared for its arrival. Enjoy it all right. But remember, it will also go away. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadaha agama paino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharata. In chapter 2, 14th verse, right? We are not against experiential happiness. Vedanta says, may you be aware of its characteristics. May you not get attached to it. Enjoy when it is available. And when it goes away, understand it has to go away. Even our body, right? We enjoy youthful body. The youth goes away, right? We are not aware, but it slowly happens, right? So every condition of the body at one stage becomes a nightmare, right? So we are not against experiential happiness. We only want that get prepared to lose the losables, as Swamiji puts it. So Anandamaya Kosha also has to be negated, Neti. Physically, don't throw it away. Remember, it is another costume. Anatmatva Nishchayaha, Poshatva Nishchayaha, Namarupatva Nishchayaha, Mithyatva Nishchayaha, Pravilapanam. Right? All this we saw. Right? So, in Panchakosha Viveka, in Taittiriya Upanishad, if people who have already done that can go back and revise, it will be very useful. Now, you ask, what is the next kosha? Right? We have to remember, we have now come to the end of the koshas. We have covered all the 5 koshas and all the 3 sharirams. And once I negate all 5 koshas or 3 sharirams, I have divested myself of all the costumes, then I am the pure Atma. Therefore, Shankaracharya wants to conclude the Panchakosha Viveka discussion in the following shloka by pointing out that whatever is left out is the real Atma. So this is the conclusion of Panchakosha Viveka, which he started in verse 45. Right? He formally concludes. This is the verse 60 that we are entering. In the original text, it is verse 210. That means so much elaborately Acharya has covered. Right? So, Naivayam Anandamaya Paratma Sopadikatvat Prakriter Vikarat Karyatva Hetoho Sukruta Kriyayaha Vikara Sangata Samahitatvat. Panchanamapi Koshanam
Panchanaamapi koshanam
Nishedhe Yukti Takrite
nishedhe yuktitah krute
Tannishedhavadis Sakshi
tannishedhavadissakshi
Bodharupo Vashishyate.
bodharupo vashishyate.
So, very logical continuation here. Once a Vedantic student, right, studies all these 5 layers of personality, he learns to name them kosha. And if he understands the significance of the word kosha and what it means, he understands they are not me. Right? It's like an angavastram, you take it away. If it's faded, you throw it away. Even the body is a costume, it is fading. I'm not worried, one day it will go. Right? So, gatasuna gatasuncha nanushocanti panditaha. So the very word kosha makes me wiser. I have to practice applying the word kosha to each layer of my personality. Mind is kosha, buddhi is kosha. So the literal meaning of the word kosha is a container, and the commentators give twofold interpretations to the word kosha. Acharya gives one and the other authors give another. Shankaracharya says, Upalabdhi sthanavat kosha. It is like a container for a spectacle. So I take off the spectacle and put it in the spectacle case, which is the kosha. So when you need the spectacles, you take the case and open it. So similarly, pancha koshas are like the container. So Atma is the spectacle. So the content. So pancha koshas are the 5-fold cases, right? So the content is kept here. So that is koshaha is upalabdhi sthanam. This is Acharya's explanation of kosha. In Vedanta Sara, Sadananda gives another interpretation. Koshavat achadakatvat. That is, the spectacle is covered by the case. It is concealed or hidden. Therefore, you cannot see it. Similarly, Atma is also covered by the Panchakoshas. Not physically covered. It is a covering as it were. It is not perceptible. So, Atma is not perceptible. So, lifelong, we are busy, right, with so many things that we miss this Atma. Balastavat Krida Saktaha, the famous Vajagovindam shloka. Thus, throughout life, we are worried or pay attention to one kosha or the other, but we ignore the real nature. So, in a figurative sense, they are covering the Atma. So, it is said, koshavat achadakatvat, concealer, or upalabdhi sthanavat koshaha, container. Thus, it is called koshaha or case. And the kosha is called shariram because shiryamana swabhavat, right? Shiryamanam, right? Shariram is basically shiryamana swabhavat, subject to decay, right? So in passive voice, it is shiryate, to decay, degenerate. So once we negate the three sharirams, the pancha kosha, right? What happens? Shankaracharya says, panchanam koshanam api nishedhe yuktitaha shrutehe. So when all the five koshas have been negated as not me, with the help of the two pramanams, yukti and shruti, right? The Shruti Pramanam is the Taitreya Shruti Pramanam. Anyontara Atma Anandamayaha Tenaisha Purnaha Savaesha Purusha Vidayeva Tasya Purusha Vidatam Anvayam Purusha Vidaha. Then it goes on, right? So Anyontara, every kosha, it keeps saying, this is not the one, you go inside, it is interior, etc. So is the Vedic evidence or Pramanam is there. The logical evidence is also there. What is the most powerful logic? I am not what I experience. That is the logic. So I am different from whatever I experience because whatever I experience falls under the experienced category, whereas I am the experiencer and I, the experiencer, am different from all the experienced panchakoshas, including the Anandamaya kosha, which I experience in deep sleep state, which is called Sakshi Bhasyam. Therefore, I am not the Panchakoshas. This is the logical argument. Yukti tataha means drishyatvat iti yuktihi. Many other reasons. Because I can see it, because I can experience it, bhautikatvat, savikaratvat, sagunatvat, agama payitvat, subject to arrival and departure, etc. So all these are not me. So iti nisheda. Once a person disowns or disidentifies, right? Then experientially, I cannot disidentify from the body, right? Because as long as the prarabdha is there, I'm stuck with it. And all the problems of the body I have to go through, right? So it is not experiential disidentification, but it is a discernment, right? So even when he experiences pain, a jnani will say, I experience the pain, but the pain doesn't belong to me. Pain is an experienced attribute belonging to the experienced body, right? So, and actually it is proven even in some pain management courses, etc. And what they papers they write, they say if you remove the emotional content from the pain and be objective about it, the pain itself will appear much lower, right? So we can increase our threshold of pain. And you can actually see this with Swamijis, right? Their pain threshold is much, much, much higher. So when we have objectivity, we remove the emotional content and then the problems are less. So a jnani has this objectivity. Therefore, even when he goes through physical pain, he removes the emotional content. Yes, the body will degenerate, I understand, etc. So, tam titikshasva bharata, right? In Gita. So, nishede yuktitaha shrutehe. Nishede here means when we intellectually disidentify, we have an objective appreciation of Panchakosha, right? And because of Shruti and Yukti Pramanas, we disidentify, and what remains? Tad nisheda avadhihi bodha rupaha sakshi avashishyate. So what remains is the Sakshi Chaitanyam, and that Sakshi Chaitanyam is of the nature of pure consciousness. So pure consciousness is called Sakshi when it is associated with the Sharira Trayam. It is called Chidabhasa. So in association with Sharira Trayam and Chidabhasa, the original consciousness gets named Sakshi. So the very same original consciousness, which is there in the dead body also, but there it is not associated with the three Sharirams. In a statue also consciousness pervades, right? But it is not associated with the Sukshma Shariram, Karana Shariram, etc., right? So the name Sakshi comes only when Chidabhasa is there with Chit. We must remember this. Normally, you cannot use this word Sakshi. The Sakshi comes only when Chidabhasa is there along with Chit. Therefore, Bodha Rupaha, the consciousness, which is at present called Sakshi, Tat Nisheda Avadihi. Here, Avadhi means the left out, the reminder, the limit is the literal meaning. Here, the limit means whatever is left out as the reminder after removing everything else. So, from the floor, right? If you remove all the objects, the dirt, everything, right? That is called Nisheda Vishayaha. The left behind floor, which is clean, that is called basically the Nisheda Avadihi. So the Nisheda Vishayaha is Panchakosha. Nisheda Avadhi is Atma. And therefore the Avadhi is unnegatable. Finally, you can't remove the floor like that. What remains after negating everything is unnegatable. So therefore, Anatma alone is Nishedhyam. Atma is unnegatable, negator of all the negatables. So Atma avashishyate, that alone remains. So that is the real self. With this, the Panchakosha Viveka topic is complete. Now we are supposed to know what is the real I, right? So further discussions are going to be on the nature of Atma. So hereafter we are going to have positive discussions. Until now we said what Atma is not. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham, nacha shrotra jihve, nacha grana netre, that way, right? So far we have seen nature of consciousness and nature of happiness. Both we have seen, these two we have seen. More features of the Atma we can see in the following shlokas, which we will start in the next class. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So please note that next week the class is on Saturday. In case any of you are unable to attend, I request you to listen to it after the Saturday class is posted. And after that, entire May, we will have no class. Tentatively, I'm planning to post a pre-recorded class summarizing the portions that I have done, because we are roughly around midway on June 2nd. I will try, I'm not sure. And I will post this if possible so that, we can directly resume classes on 9 June. Otherwise, the summary will have to be on 9 June in the live class.